I can already imagine Ashley coming in, then laughing that hysterical laugh that she has, high pitched, and
Yeah.
and everybody in the office hear her and being like, "That's Ashley."
But that's how you know it's an okay day. You know, when we're laughing, because if we're not laughing at some point, go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have my work bestie today. I'm so excited to have you on. Welcome to the podcast. Introduce yourself. Tell us your name, where you're from, what you do for work, and what your views are on mental health.
Well, good morning. I lied. Good afternoon. It's morning for me right now. My name is Victoria. I am from the good old Central Jersey that exists. Okay, it exists. I am a clinical therapist. I've done a lot of things in my mental health career so far, and my views on mental health. Oh my God, where do you begin with that question? Maybe that'll be weaved throughout the rest of like the interview though, because I get me off my soapbox because I will be on the soapbox for as long as you leave me on there. My top things for my mental health soapbox are homelessness and like severe mental health along with a developmental disability. So that's a lot of the work that I've done.
Tell us what motivated you to want to become a therapist in the first place.
So I always knew that talk therapy was a very beneficial thing for, also my mom said I came out talking and I haven't shut up since. So that I was like, maybe I should do that for a living. My original goal as a person was to be actually a performer, because I was in a lot of like a dance academy. I was in, oh my God, most of the girls that I graduated with are now like Rockettes and official like performers. They're all doing their thing.
That does
I
not
love.
matter.
And I'm like, good for you. I will be here doing the talking, the therapy, okay? Because I just can't. But I did everything like ballet, tap, jazz. I was on point for a while, and I still dance right now, traditionally with a cultural group that's
Ooh.
in New Jersey, which is fun. That was my original goal. And then actually, I wanted to go to school for art, but in my culture, whoever pays for school gets the most say. So at the time, you're 17, you're just going to college, you don't know what's going on. And they're like, you're going to be a lawyer. And I'm like, that's funny because I don't
You're
want to,
hysterical.
right? That's funny because I don't want to. I wanted to go to art school, but I didn't. That was my original goal. But my next best thing was psychology. That was the thing I was interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of choosing one or the other with the people that paid for how I went to college, I said, ¿por qué no los dos?
Mm-hmm.
And I double majored in criminal justice and psychology, which was wild.
Go
Um,
off.
and before I decided what exactly I wanted to do in the mental health field, I knew I needed experience. So after I graduated undergrad, I worked for about 5 years. And then I figured out what I wanted to do. And then that's how I went to school for my master's in social work.
What job did you start in when it came to the mental health field?
I started in case management. So I know foot in the door, like careers for mental health, they're pretty difficult. I started with a recovery foundation that started in New Jersey, an excellent foundation. They have only grown exponentially since. I interned with them for a while, doing interventions, learning about the different interventions you could take for substance abuse and mental health. And I think there is where I decided, okay, I need to know a little bit of everything so that I can figure out what I am best at in this field. Also, I want to know what it's like to start off with nothing, again, with the homelessness thing in the back of my mind. What's it like to start out with nothing in New Jersey and how to get to a point where we can survive somewhere? So I started off in the Recovery Foundation. I interned for a few months, and then I went to case management for an enhanced supportive housing program. So that's a real spicy program. My other goal is I never want to have a boring day. And boy, have I never. In that program, I moved up to housing support, and then I moved up to homeless outreach in that same agency. That was amazing. I was out there in the woods fighting people. Maybe not in the safest way. Like I'm gonna go out in the woods by myself today, and everyone was like, "Hey, whoa, today," and I'm like, "I'm already here," and they're like, "Oh my God." Someone would rush out to come and find me because you're really not supposed to be in the woods by yourself looking for people who are severely mentally ill.
Oh my God.
It's just not the safest. I got my boots on. I got like Wawa donation sandwiches in my backpack. And I'm looking for people, you know, because you get reports from the police stations and
Yeah.
you're like, you got to outreach this person. And I'm like, okay, well, what Walmart are they behind? Please tell me. So I did homeless outreach for a really long time. And during that time, I think that's when I started grad school. And then I went to a program. It was a different type of case management that was grouped with a partial hospitalization and an IOP program. So we worked with that different population. I stayed there until I got my license for social work. I had graduated and stuff. And at that same time, the agency that I was working for was like, oh, hey, I hear you, because we did sign a contract that said, oh, after you get your license, we can move you to the therapist position, you know, the goal.
Please don't
And
tell
they
me
were
they
like,
didn't.
yeah, they didn't. They were like, so how about you just stay where you're at? Like, what about that? Can we have that discussion? And I was like, hello? No.
Does it come with a pay raise?
Zero grade.
Then no.
Oh,
And
hell no.
so it was so great because that same day, my old supervisor had called me. And this the whole time, whenever I'm like hopping to a different job, I always stay part-time with my case management agency. One, because I adore that field. I love that job. I am so familiar with everything that happens in the program. It's something I'm comfortable with, and I really enjoy my coworkers and the clientele. So my boss called me and she said, hey, they approved this same day. Mind you, the same day I had that conversation with the other boss that was like, why don't you just keep doing what you're doing? That same day, she called me after that same day and was like, oh, hey, that supervisor position is open now. Like she created a supervisor position in that department, the ones that I worked at. And I said, are you really? What are the requirements? They're like, no, they made it so that you could, hello? Are you there? I said, yes. Yes.
So they created a whole position just for you.
Yeah, I left because I was there's lots of things happen. You know, there's a lot of turnover in this field. There's a lot of different, you know, traumatic experiences you can have as a worker in the mental health field. And I didn't feel like I was getting support from higher management at the time. So I left, but I chose to stay part-time under somebody that I really enjoyed working with. And she's the one that called me and was like, hey, it happened. It went through. And I had known that this was in the works. And she said that. And I said, say less, girl. I gave in my 2 weeks that next week. And then I was a supervisor for about a year.
Wow.
Yup. I was supervised the Enhanced Supportive Housing Program, the DDMI programs throughout at least 4 different counties in New Jersey.
Wow. That's a blessing.
I loved it. I didn't actually want to leave. And then at that time, I recognized, ooh, this is not clinical experience though. And I have my license, so I need to do. So I started working part-time as a therapist with that same agency and being a supervisor at the same time.
Oh, wow.
I was doing it. It was working. I had like I had a caseload, but it was a small caseload and they kept taking people away from me. So I wasn't getting the hours that I needed. So I had to be like self. We need that clinical experience. Having the LC because I'm an LSW right now. Having the C is what we have to do right now. And so I left that position as a supervisor, stayed part-time with that department, and I went to a partial hospitalization program where I ran groups forever, right? So going back to my original goal of being able to touch base on every part of the mental health system. So I did the homeless part of the system. I have done the housing support for those who have like rental vouchers. I worked with the severely mentally ill, the regular case management, the recovery programs, the partial hospitalizations, the IOP now. I had multiple deaths in the family like happen like consecutively. And I was like, okay, hey, job, here's my documentation for I need to not be here because I have multiple funerals. And they said, that's so funny because we don't have a bereavement policy. And I'm like, what did you say? I was like, a mental health agency doesn't have a bereavement policy? Not at all. And they were like, sorry, you're going to have to use all of your PTO. So I was like,
that's fucked up.
And I couldn't do that because I had just gotten COVID. So I already had lost like a chunk of days. So I didn't have many days left. So I literally had to run groups the morning of the funerals.
Oh my God.
Right? So from that moment on, I called my old boss, a boss that I had earlier on in my case management, and I was like, hey, what's his name? Our boss right now. And I was like, hey,
Okay.
quick question. Do you have anything open right now where you're at? And he's just like, I told you I did, but you said you took another job. And I was like,
About that.
about that. And then I explained to him the situation, and he goes, say less. Let's start hooking everything up. So that's how I started. And I got to where I am at right now with Ashley. So that is how I became a therapist, but also that is how I wanted to get all the different experience in all the different fields.
So that's why you left your last job.
Yeah.
That's
And they were
messed up.
also cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like the clients, I could run groups all day, every day if you really wanted me to. I could absolutely do that. It's just that the reason I have never left a job for the clientele. I've always left because of management or whatever, like disagreements in that way. Because as much as we are advocates for our clients, we also have to be advocates for ourselves. And
For sure.
sometimes it's way harder to do than be an advocate for our clients. So I had lots of encouragement from my support system who were like, bruh, no bereavement, a mental health agency. There are so many things that have happened since I have left, and I'm not.
Yeah.
But cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs is the best way to
That's
say it.
crazy. Listen, Victoria, I'm wondering, is there any mental health struggles that you've gone through that have motivated you to want to become a therapist at all?
All right, where am I starting? So again, being in like a performance environment my entire like childhood life. And you know what? I am extremely proud of all of the people that I went to dance school with, and how they're professional performers now. Lots of them are on Broadway, on they're Rockettes in different states. The traveling performers where they like travel on like cruises and stuff. They're living their dreams, and I am so entirely proud. But that type of industry also does a lot to the body image. I've had a lot of struggles with that. And then I got married actually very early on in my life, and then divorced also very early on in my life, right? Those military marriages, fam. When I was in my undergrad, I had 3 jobs. I managed a restaurant. I was teaching freshman courses. I was running the people who teach the freshman courses office, and trying to spend time with my family all at the same time, right? So, hello, did I sleep? I don't know. You ever think
What
back
is
to
sleep?
your undergrad and you're like, how did I do? Like, I would not be able to not sleep as much as I've been doing, like at that point. But that was really difficult, being able to manage all of that and then just like be fine. Because then you're running through life. You're sprinting. And then you stop school and you're like, okay, cool. Now I have to do real people stuff. And being in the recovery field is hard. And that was my first introduction. So that all happened. And at that time, I wasn't married yet. I got married while I was at my first case management job. And I got divorced during COVID, right? So we were together, I think, for about 6 years. LOL, COVID happened, right? In the middle of grad school, also, right? So now I'm in grad school. The relationship was at the point where I had to get out of the apartment ASAP. So I was like, where do I even go? So me experiencing a bout of homelessness for a second, right? So also, again, I said military marriage because he had the GI Bill. I wasn't eligible for assistance. So, and he wouldn't give that to me. Obviously, I wouldn't want to. But then I had to pay for school out of pocket. So I was paying so much money. And I had a beautiful human being who let me stay with them for a year down, because I was in a whole different county. I had moved an hour away from my family to be with this man. And so she let me stay with her, and she was the best support that I could have ever asked for at the time. But at that time, again, homeless, COVID, by myself, had to move everything out of my house. I had to leave so many things behind. So that's traumatizing, right?
Yeah.
Tiny bit, teeny tiny bit. And then I had to just kind of reinvent myself, all while working like almost like 60 plus hours a week.
Wow.
Deal with the divorce, deal with my family. My grandfather died during COVID during that time. Also, I got COVID the first November because, in case management, lots of people are like, oh no, this is terrifying. We can't go outside. What about our people though? And our people need the support in the community. So I got COVID like 5 times. It was awful. I lied. Maybe it was like 3.
Sister, we're on the same boat. I've
Yes.
gotten it like 4 times.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. And the first time I legitimately thought I was dying.
No, the first time I thought it was
Legitimately.
allergies.
COVID did a number. We're also seeing that a lot with our kids, like as therapists. Like COVID did a ton to them. But like also then what did it do to us? Since the divorce, I've been in a better place. I'm able to be with my family more. I was like disconnected and isolated them for a really long time, which sucked a lot. You know, as someone who's like, yeah, who's your support system? And they're like, who's your support system? I'm like, my mom, but she's an hour away. Like, what am I don't know. So a lot. The feeling of not having anything messed me up.
Mhm.
So I know what that feeling is like. So being that person for someone when they don't have anybody is important, you know, and having an advocate, getting out of an abusive relationship, getting into something that's you're passionate about and not just kind of surviving, but
Mhm.
thriving.
Thriving. And it sounds like you are now.
I'm doing my best. Right now, I live with 2 other people. One of them has been one of my besties for a really long time. And I'm only 20 minutes from my mom now. This is the first time I'm working in a county that I live in, which is wild. And I'm trying to live my best life.
Well, we were saying earlier in the sense that like people just see the A, the B, the C. They don't know the struggles of the things we had to go through in order to get to where we are now. It's insane the amount of things that sometimes we have to give up. Sometimes we're forced to go through so many like triggering moments
Mhm.
that lead to this. Then we start to treat the people that have also been through it. And that's when you go through countertransference and just so many things that you're just like, oh my God.
So then, with that being said, when you experience countertransference, like how do you handle that? What do you do?
A lot of the times I disassociate. I'm just like, all right, so that just happened. And then I stare at the wall for a bit. Right. And I'm like, okay, self, because you have to understand your own triggers, you know,
Yeah.
going into any session. There are certain times where I see someone and I'm like, oof,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a difficult time with this. Like some of them, some of them little kids that I'm like, first of all, you're 8. Why are you here? What's disturbing your joy of just being alive as an 8-year-old? You know, and then you get those teenagers who really feel so misunderstood, and I'm like, oof, ow, hurt, and I just want to hug them, but you know, you can't.
Yeah.
And it's just really painful to watch all of that. But the countertransference, I have to really take those steps back to take care of myself. In regards to taking care of myself, I have been attempting to get treatment for a very long time. And every time I go somewhere, they're like, ooh, do you want maybe perhaps put you on a waiting list for a specialist? And I'm like, a specialist? This is the third time I've done this. And I'm like, you know what? No, thanks. Like, I know the resources right now. And no, like, I've not been able to have a therapist myself for a very long time because of my insurance constantly changing and the coverage constantly changing. So I'm like, fine. So my care for myself when I'm feeling super triggered by clients is I will go spend time with my family to ground myself.
And I hate that you're not able to get treatment for yourself right now. Is there has there ever been a time where you've had a consistent therapist at all?
Nope.
Really?
Yep.
That's awful.
Wild. It is awful because at times I'm talking and I'm like, I'm recalling some traumatic events, and there are definitely some traumatic events that I have not, you know, in that journey that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
I have not, like, you know, talked about just now, but I've recalled it to people, and they're like, "Oh my, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, fine. What are you talking about?
I'm
I'm
fine.
fine,
I'm
fam. What
fine.
do you mean?" But
Oh,
in retrospect, like there's been some serious traumatic events. I just haven't been able to, I've processed through it in my own way to the point where I'm able to have a talk about it because also I'm a therapist. I'm like, oh, I know the tools. I'm gonna practice them myself. And I get that. But also having someone else to be able to prompt me through that will be nice.
No, and the fact that, sometimes when we talk to our clients and they bring up something and then you're just like, you're thinking back and you're listening to yourself say to them what it is that you need to hear. But then again, you don't take it in yourself. And like, for instance, when it comes to like toxic relationship, you're like, girl, you gotta do this, this, and this, and this. Get
You
your
gotta
mindset
leave
out of
him.
it. You gotta leave. And then you remember way back when you're like, wait, but that was me at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The math ain't mathing right now because I
You're
should
like
have taken
talking to
that
your past
advice.
self.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
talking to my past self, and it's like, oh my God.
Being in toxic relationships, you really lose yourself because
100%.
you consume yourself into that relationship so much, and like that person becomes your absolute world. And so
Mhm.
I'm wondering like how you unwired your brain from all that toxicity and just all that abuse that you endured from this person.
Sometimes it still haunts me. There are certain things that haunt me because right now, technically, he is now married again to the girl that he told me not to worry about. So, period. Right.
Oh my
So
God.
there are times where I'm like, what just happened? Like, what happened? Like, how did I get here? I don't understand. But at the same time, I do. And the person that I'm living with right now, she was in my wedding party. Listen, we had a great party. I know how to party, right? But and she was there for all of it, right? And she is a very no nonsense person. She's been able to tell me how it is since the day we first met. So I had fantastic interventions by her that have helped me kind of move past some of my toxic behaviors that I've developed as coping mechanisms to, for example, I love bozos. I love that because I feel as though I'm the smarter one in the relationship, which I
Um,
sometimes am, so that like I feel like I have more control of the thing because I don't need someone. I'm like, this is fine. I'm gonna keep you right there, right?
Victoria.
What? It's listen.
it's
I
her
had
preference, Ashley. Let her be.
listen. Listen. The big muscle types bozos that know how to dance
Oh
covered in
yes.
tattoos, like it's over for me like that, and that's not even. It's not even like a toxic preference. That's literally been my preference the whole time. So now I'm trying to do something different and it's stupid and I hate it, but that's my toxic parts of my brain. I mean, like, why can't I just have my cake and eat it too? Why can't I do that? Hello? This is my life. I want to live it the way I want to, but at the same time, no. Bozos.
Oh my God. The fact that you said that your ex is now married to the girl that he told you not to worry about. Tell me how. That's not only happened to me once, but twice. Twice. I'm just like, I don't learn. I really don't learn. Like the
I don't
signs are
think it's that
there.
you don't learn, so you have hope. You're like, this
You
Yes.
is
do. That's the thing. You have
different.
hope that
This
things
is
are good.
different. No.
That's a blessing and a curse, right? Like the fact that we see hope in these people and we feel like they could be the best partner in the world, and it always blows up in our face.
Especially knowing that we're all in the mental health field, we all want to fix somebody.
Yep. The fact that we want to fix somebody, like that's literally the worst thing that we can do. But that's also in our nature because hello, it's what we do for a living,
Hello.
right? And but
Mhm.
again, it
You're
bites us in the
hopeful.
ass.
I wouldn't say we do it for a living. I'd say we more so provide tools to people for a living. Like we don't
True.
fix people for a living.
True.
We provide them their own little tools in their toolbox and they decide what to do with it. That's sometimes why we have people that we see forever.
True. It's
We're
true.
people's Jiminy Crickets.
It's true. And I hope that if anything, that relationship did teach you that we can't fix
Oh,
people.
yep. That
Because I learned the same thing with my last relationship too, because that was toxic. There was abuse in that too. And the one thing I know is just if they don't want to make the changes, then you can't fix them. That's it. Like that's just who they are as a person, and that's that.
That's it. That's the show.
Can we talk about my job for a second?
I'm
So
ready.
I love how you and I like I love how we check in on each other almost every day. And if I don't pop up, that's when you know that I'm like going through it in my office and having a little mental breakdown.
I'm an
And
advancy mentee B. That's what we're having.
and I love how when we hang out, like we just like trauma dump on each other every single time. It's
We're
great.
allowed. I think something about I asked my boss, because the boss that we have now was a previous boss of mine from quite a few years ago. And I was like, why did you bring me here if you're gonna make fun of me? Like, what was the reason, right? What was the reason? Because it's hard, a lot of the things that we're doing. He's like, lots of people call me like a ray of sunshine, right? And I will talk to everybody. And I noticed that in our department, not everybody was like really like talking to each other. Nobody
Yeah,
was
no.
conversations. And I was like, hey, yo, have lunch with me, everyone. So now there's like three of us that have four of us that have lunch together all the time. Right? We even went out together.
Yep.
You know, my goal is to make the environment that we work in also has to be a welcoming and loving environment. Like if someone needs help, bet I'm here. You need candy, I got you.
Yeah.
You need a snack, although I got little bites, I got fruit snacks.
She got everything. She got everything. I
Right?
love her room. Her room has so many things.
I have an open door policy. Like when I don't have a client, my door will be open for anyone, right? And everyone stops by now because like we also need to be joyful in where we're at.
Yeah.
Right? And we have a community too that we have to take care of. And some people like they come to my office and they're like, this is so weird though, because I've been here for over a year and I've never had a conversation like this with anyone. And I'm like, welcome to the right time. We're allowed to have sunshine in the office, you know. We deal with that all day.
I've said this for so long, and Sam even knows it too. I always told her that this job is very isolating. There's not much, like you don't really get that much social interaction with the exception of our clients. But I value being able to have like great coworkers and a great supervisor, and just I love being able to check in with my coworkers, even if I don't know them well. I'd like to just pop in and be like, "You good? Like everything okay?" And we just didn't have that before you came. So you actually made a huge difference in our office, and that's something that I'm super super grateful for, genuinely, because I tell my dad this all the time. I'm very close with my dad, so I told my dad this all the time, like, oh, Victoria literally makes my day every single time, I swear, because he knew too, like how isolating it was for me, and it was really miserable for me because I thrive being around people. I thrive like having those social interactions, and especially if like the day is overwhelming, I always go to you because it's just like, all right, today's overwhelming and I just need to be around people, you know.
What do you need? What snack do you want? You want a color? Do you want to play Uno? Like
I've been telling myself, I've been at my job almost 2 years, and I keep telling myself, I need to decorate my office. I need to decorate my office. I need to decorate my
You
office.
need to.
The problem, I've sent Ashley pictures of my office. She's like, Sam, what is that color? I can't do a paint job. Like it's an office. Obviously, I'm not gonna paint it, but I can make do with it. The problem is that for almost 2 years, it's been like a shared office with somebody else, because I'm there 2 days out of the week.
gotcha.
But the problem is she's not there at all, because she went from a full-time worker to a part-time worker to an only online worker to now a 1 day a week worker. So, but that was her office before anything. And so she still has all of her stuff in there. And I don't want to like move anything. I don't want to touch anything in case like she comes and she's like, oh yeah, like where's my stuff? I don't want to be accused of like stealing anything. So I haven't really touched much. There's some furniture I've moved, but everything that's hers is like still in there. So I don't feel comfortable like to actually do anything to it in general. So I'm just like,
so our office manager is hilarious.
Yes.
I make it a point to at least once a day sit in her office in this. I have a chair that I sit in, and she goes in there. She's like, "Hi, Victoria. How are you doing?" Oh, you need the chair. Like, yes, I do, ma'am. And like just to connect with her, because our offices, we're in them all day.
Yeah.
Literally. Almost like whatever, every day ish, because I cannot work from home. If there's a bed somewhere, I'm sleeping on it. Like that's it. But connecting with like the support staff, I think is also super, super,
yes.
super, right? So I communicate with our office manager all the time.
Yes.
I say hello to everyone at the front all the time.
Yep. Same.
Because without them, like we couldn't make our space, like we couldn't run appropriately, right? And if I didn't have my relationship that I do with this office manager, I would have nothing in my office. I was without a computer for a very long time.
Mm.
I only had one monitor and it was like this big.
I remember that.
And I'm like, I can't work with this. It was because it was a laptop.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. But now I have all the monitors. I have everything that I need set up. They put up the bulletin boards in my. And then when I went to one of the doctors who'd been there forever, and they're like, "Man, I've had that sitting there for like 2 years." And I'm like, "Did you communicate that with the office?"
Victoria, I wanted to finish my thought on that though. So again, like it was very isolating before you came in, and I did want to thank you for just making even an impact on me, and I'm sure you've made a huge impact on the rest of us too, especially because of the fact that it was so isolating, and again, nobody was really talking to each other at the time too. And when I came in, I did make it to a point to like say hello to everybody that would pass by, and I would also have my door open and stuff like that, because again, if we close our door, that's it, like we're alone, we're isolated, and we're just doing our work. But I always made it a point to leave my door open too, and people would come in and say hi to me, and I would say hi to them. And but you've definitely made such a huge difference in our department, and it really made an impact on me too.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And also, you're welcome. Because also, it's such a nice, you're right, 1,000%. It's a very isolating experience. Sometimes when I have, like in the beginning, when everyone's door was closed and then someone would leave it open just a crack, I would kick the door down. Hello, it's me.
Little old me.
Introducing myself again. Like there's like a prescriber across the way, and every time he comes out of his office, I'm like, "How you doing?"
Oh my God, we stand him.
And he's like so obnoxious about it. And now when I don't do it, he's like, "Oh, like who did it?"
You've got him used to it. So wait, how long have you been at this job?
2-3 months.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're new.
Yeah.
That's how I introduce myself to my clients. And I'm like, "Hi, I'm Victoria with blah, blah, blah. I am a clinician with here. I'm not a new clinician, but I am new here." You know, blah, blah, blah. That's how I start my spiel.
Ah, okay. That's why you're so energetic. You're new to
I love it.
the location.
I'm like this all the time.
She is.
My old coworkers at, when I was a supervisor, they're like, "It's so sad now. Like you're not." My boss here right now where I'm working at, and my old boss is the one that I'm working part-time for. He has been trying to steal me away from this agency forever. And now he has finally succeeded. Succeeded. But no,
I bet he's happy with his efforts.
Absolutely.
Very happy with his efforts.
I love how you are close with our supervisor. Like it's so funny to watch your relationship.
I bothered the crap out of him too. He's very like, yeah, very soft spoken. He's in his little clinical box a lot of the time, and then it's just me. "What's up, bud? How you doing? Guess what I'm doing? I'm going to a Star Wars concert." And he's like, nice.
She mocks him so well. It's so funny.
But
Great.
sometimes we have to do that. Sometimes like
So
we have to break that enigma that our supervisors are like not people that we should bother or not people that we should talk to because
I bother him all the time.
And another thing that I appreciate is just the fact that you are so authentically yourself. Like if you feel like shit, you're getting like you don't even care. You'll just show it. You'll make it known that you look and feel like shit.
Like I was telling you yesterday, I've been kind of like lethargic a little bit, and then our supervisor walked by and he goes, "Hi, Victoria." I'm like, "I'm just not feeling it today." He goes, "Oh, how can I help?" Like, and he's so sweet, but like I have a hard time hiding the things on my face.
You're the type of person that shows their emotions on their face.
Yes, it's so true. And I'm the same way too. So like when I see her, I'm like, "Oh shit, she's not having a good day today."
Nope.
Like I just know.
You walk by and then you back up and you're like, I'm like, "I know."
I will.
I know.
Wait a minute. Are you okay?
Wait, what was it? Oh, the other
Nope.
day I texted Ashley because originally something was gonna happen and I was like, "Oh, I might have to change the time. Can you ask your coworker?" And she texted me, "Yeah, let me ask her." And then she texted me back, "She's not in a good mood.
I was
I'll
like, she's
text her
having a
later."
day. I'll text her later.
Anyway, I
She was
do
like,
have the RBF though. So like if that does happen and I'm just not having it, like I'm still approachable. It's just my face.
oh no, I have my best friend, she had to tell me a few times, like, Sam, wipe that RBF off your face. I'm just like, it's not intentional. That let's be real, it's not intentional, at least for me, because somebody approaches me and I'm all laughs and smiles and my face completely changes. If no one is talking to me and I'm concentrating on something, that's where the RBF comes out. And I'm like, in the mood, in the zone, like, don't bother me, like, I'm doing the stuff. But if no one's talking
Focus
to me,
face.
obviously, like, yeah, it's the focus phase. So I very
Yeah.
much understand the RBF and the effects that the RBF can have on other people. So I have a question. Do you specialize in a specific area, or are you general clinic?
Right now, this is the first time I've ever been in a generalized program, like outpatient, period. Like this is the first time I've ever been in something that's not a specialized program. Most of the time I'm with the enhanced severely mentally ill programs. So this is a weird change for me. I'm so used to the higher level of care that this is weird for me. But mostly I would say I try not to have a specific specialization because I want to know a little bit about everything. So I do like the kids.
I can't with kids. I mean,
I love
I can with
kids.
teens, but I can't with
I
kids.
I
love
don't,
kids.
for a really long time, I refused to work with kids because I knew I was going to get attached. I knew I was going to love it. And I was like, I don't think I'm ready for that kind of dedication yet. So then when I did my first outpatient, like when I worked part time as a therapist while I was a supervisor, my first kid was 11. And I was like, oh man. And I ended up having the greatest time. And he had a great time until DCPMP took him away from me because they wanted someone who was like trauma, like focused. I'm
Ah,
like,
oh.
fine. And
Take
then
him.
so I'm still kind of mad about it.
No, I would be too.
But now I think my youngest is 8. I hate that I love them so much.
No.
My office is full of toys
Oh,
and
mine too.
colors and crayons and markers and oh my.
I have dolls. I have so many poppets and fidget toys.
Hey,
You and I have completely different vibes of room.
I'll take your kids if you want to take my funky adults.
Sure, I'll do it. No problem. Like my room is dark and it's like dimmed. It gives like Zen vibes, whereas Victoria's is like so bright and so colorful and has so many toys and so many like it just has everything. Everything
My
that
keyboard lights up.
now Victoria, being your family is from Greece and
I
Puerto
am
Rico?
Greek Rican. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry, Greek or Rican?
Yes, I'm Greek and Puerto Rican.
Greek and Puerto Rican.
We are
Okay.
our own
Okay.
breed. The parties are wild. And the food is great. That's all I have to say about that. Yeah.
Now, so being the fact that you're from these two different cultures, what did they think when you decided to be in the mental health field and with what you're doing right now?
Because I do a lot of the more intense things, my family is more so like afraid for me because you hear horror stories all the time. You see, like, they demonize mental health in the movies all the time. Like, I watch Split and I'm like, that guy is cool. And then I want to talk to all of them. But my mom is like, traumatized, because she's like, those are the kinds of people you work with. And I'm like, no, he's way cooler. But and like when I was doing a lot of the homeless outreach, they were afraid for me. I had a couple of events where I was a part of one of those horrific stories, and my family was afraid for me. And I'm like, I get that. But also, a clinician that I had met early on in my career, she said to me one time, this job is hard. Any job in mental health is hard. She goes, and who is going to do it? If I have the ability to do it, why shouldn't I? And I'm like, you know what, Bet? That's fair. And if that's something that I can find joy in, Bet, I'll do that. I think my dad was kind of funky about it. My dad is that scary Puerto Rican man from like, you have to like drive around a city to find him. Like, which bar is he at right now? You know,
Oh,
you gotta like drive around to find him if you want to find him. And he was like, what are you doing? You're not gonna make any money. And I'm like, true. unfortunately, my calling is not in the service of making money. It's in the service of others, right? So I will be rich in other ways. And now he's like, anxiety, huh? I might have that. And I'm like, huh? Look, we're having a conversation, Dad. This is great. But also, oh no, you need to have a therapist. I can't do that for you, Dad. No. You know, they understand it, that it's hard work and that it's necessary work. And, you know, a lot of the times in those cultures, it's very religious, very Jesus centered.
Yeah. And that's why I asked too.
Yeah, I wear this cross, right? I've had this since I was like 9 or whatever. And everyone in my immediate family wears one, right? So this more so connects me to my family than anything else.
You don't take that off, do you?
Nope.
Okay. So you wearing that in sessions and stuff, do any of your clients ever have questions to you about like your religion? And if so, like how do you handle that? Because obviously those are mementos for us and we wear them because it signifies a meaning. But to some of our clients, they may not be as understanding or as comfortable seeing that we may be a different religion from them. So how do you handle that?
Well, before I go into anything, if it's like a noticeable, I can tell that it's a different culture. Like I'm not afraid to have the conversation. Like this is the conversation that we're allowed to have. And if it's their preference to be with someone who shares different beliefs than them or shares the same beliefs, that's up to them. But a lot of the times someone's faith is a part of their healing, part of their mental health journey. A lot of the times we'll use that as a tool. Right. So me, I wear this all the time. It doesn't even like faze me that it's there anymore. To be honest, I never remember that it's there. And if it's something that bothers someone, I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. Like, let's have that conversation. Like, oh, but I haven't actually had someone be like approach it negatively, maybe more so curiously. Like, do you practice? Like, what kind of faith do you have? And if it's something that we can work together through, or like have a safe discussion about in regards to privacy and things like that, it's fine. I'll have that. I'm not afraid to have those conversations, right? But a lot of the times I've found that it doesn't affect kind of the conversation I'm having with the client. And if they're more faith-based, then we can work through that faith-based belief system to kind of like, I say a lot of times, God is good all the time, right? And they're like, you know what? You're right. He is.
Yeah.
Which God that it is, they're right? So that's kind of how I approach those conversations. I'm very open and honest with my clients as well. So if they have questions or concerns about anything, they have been able to talk about it. And if I feel that they feel a certain way, I'm gonna confront them about that. Be like, hey, I notice you're acting differently. Can we talk about this?
I'm definitely not in that way because I have a lot of like mementos that I like to wear, just not in office because I'm scared that, my clients would feel differently. And so I am very scared to have those conversations. So I applaud you for being able to actually have those conversations with your clients.
Yeah, and that goes along with also like orientations, right? So I have a lot of kids that are struggling with their identity, right? And someone made me like a little tiny sign. They cross stitched for me and it says safe space and it's got little rainbows in it. I have a rainbow flag somewhere else. Like I think that the world out there is unpredictable. You're struggling to respond to certain things outside and then you come somewhere else and it's there. The conversation needs to be had. Right? Yeah. Like if I have a very conservative male in the room and he talks about my flag, I'm like, tell me about it. No, I would like to actually hear what you're thinking and what your feelings are. Like if this is not a safe space for you, that's fine. And I appreciate you being vocal about that to me. How can I make this a safe space for you? Get rid of it. All right, put it away. Did that help? Or are you still having those feelings because of that belief system that you have? And then we can have the conversation about that. Right. So I find, unfortunately, I feel like I'm a little confrontative, but sometimes I think those who are confrontative need to be confronted back in a certain way. So I have all that stuff everywhere. People, they come in, they look at my keyboard, it's purple and it lights up and it matches my mouse, which is also purple and lights up. And they're like, oh, I'm like, yes, I'm in here all day by myself. I do what I got to do. And the kids are like, wow, it lights up. That's so cool. And they want to like, and then it opens it up. So what is great for one is not great for the next, but it's on their type of adjustment and how they react to their environment. Because I can't control what's outside. They drive by, somebody with a rainbow flag, they may say something cool. That's their choice. And then if they come into my office and then they see that and they say something, I'm like, let's talk about that. Is this bothering you? And if it is, why? It's not right, not real. Is it? Okay.
You've obviously have dealt with so many populations throughout your career. Now, what advice would you give somebody that's trying to get into the field?
Get the experience. If you finish your undergrad, take the second to go do something, like to do something first. Like do case management. You get to touch a little bit of everything so that you can actually figure out if you want to do this or if you don't. Like some people are like, yeah, I could totally do it. But then when they're in the moment, they're like, oh shit.
It's
Oh,
different.
you know, this hits a real different. Like I am triggered right now. And then you recognize things about yourself. Take the time to get used to the field. I know there's a lot of people that go straight from undergrad to grad, and then they're out there as a graduate, like, I'm gonna save the world. Like, bro, that's what my experience was going into grad school. Like, because I had already, I had battle scars. I was a warrior already at that point. And then the kids that were younger than me, they're just like, I just finished my undergrad at this place, and I'm going to be here, and I want to do this, this, and that, and save the world. And I'm like, I don't want to burst your bubble, but like, it's so hard to have that actual mentality in the field that we have in this state. You can't save the world.
Welcome to reality.
This is what it is. Right. And I would have gone in with the same mentality that they might have if I didn't take that break and figure out what exactly I wanted to do. Because now I know what I wanted to do. It's just as important to know what you want to do as much as it is to know what you don't want to do.
For sure.
Right. If there are populations you don't want to work with, know that before you go into something. Like if you're going to be a pediatrician and you're like, this is going to be great, kids are cool, I guess, and then you work with them and you hate that, all that money you spent for what? That's my, like, for people who are coming into the field, like as a supervisor, having people who are just fresh in the field, I'm like, this is good. This is the position to be in to figure out where you want to go. And a lot of them are like, you know what? I actually don't feel like I can do this for the rest of my life.
And
I'm
that's
like,
fine.
Good. I'm like, good. I'm glad you know that now. And now the people, I got references calling me from all places, you know, for my staff who have moved on to different places, knowing now what they want to do. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you. And they're like, are you sure? Because I'm going to leave and you guys are going to be understaffed. And I'm like, I would rather do my job that I know that I love to do than watch you do it and hate everything about it. And then the clients feel that.
That's 100% accurate. I was actually telling Ashley, I've been telling Ashley for some time that trauma work, because I'm specifically working in trauma now, but for many, many years, I was always working with kids. And so this is like my first job that I'm specifically in trauma. And so I've been telling Ashley for some time, like, the more time I'm in this specific field, I think the more I'm realizing this is probably not for me, because the heaviness and the amount of things that I see every day, it's affecting me in ways that I don't want it to affect me. At the same time, I'm not really sure like if I want to leave or not. And that's a discussion I had with my supervisor. I'm just like, I don't know if this is for me. And she said, you know what? If at the end you realize trauma is not for you, that's completely fine. There are so many other specialties, so many other departments. It's not just like one thing and one thing only that you have to stay with your whole entire life. No, you're able to switch it up. So hearing you say the same thing, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel comfortable knowing the fact that you're able to change your mind and giving that flexibility to others and letting them know the same thing. I feel like also it takes a weight off their shoulders, especially the newcomers who have just graduated, who are like, ooh, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna go do that, and then like 2 months in, they're just like, oh shit.
Yeah. And then they're like, I don't know. And going off that same vein that you were talking about, I think that something that I know that I want to do, I would love to be a supervisor again. That was one of my favorite things. And I know that I made a difference in their lives, because they also made a difference in mine, but they still call me. Like I had one, I literally just saw her photos. She graduated yesterday, which is awesome. But she was having so much difficulty with her internship because she had the opportunity to go do like an OCD clinic, like And that's where she wants, like, she's like, that's what I want to do. I know it. And I'm like, okay, what other experience do you have? So we had like a 2-hour conversation on the phone on like a Saturday morning one day, like a couple of months, quite a few months ago. And I was like, do you go to the place where you can get experience that's not necessarily your target audience, I guess, or target clientele? Or do you go straight to this other OCD place where you already know that you don't get along with the, like they're not, when you want to learn something and they don't want to teach you, that's what that OCD clinic was going to be like. And I was like, maybe in an environment that's actually cohesive to learning, I would suggest you do that. We had a really long conversation about it. And afterwards, she did decide to do the regular program. And she was like, that was actually way more beneficial to me. Thank you. And I'm like, dude, you have to figure out what you want versus what you don't. And if you know what you want to do or have an idea, make sure you have the evidence to back that up. Like, go do something else and check. Go do the regular people stuff. Regular people have OCD.
Yeah.
It doesn't just have to be in that clinic. Get that experience, figure it out, and I'll be here to back you up. And
That's
even
great.
now, again, I love hearing about their stories. Every once in a while, like for example, if we have a day off and they don't, I'll show up at the office and everyone gets super pumped, and I miss them. I would not have left that job if it was clinical. I would have stayed.
Victoria, another thing I love about you is that when you're not feeling it, she'll go to like in the middle of the hallway and just be like, I don't wanna.
Yes.
You scream in the middle of the
Like
hallway?
literally.
I don't wanna. And every once in a while, if we're all eating together and I'm like, guys, I don't wanna. And she goes, you should tell our boss. And I was like, all right, so I'll get up and I'll go. And
She will literally tell our boss,
like,
like, what if I just
I
don't
don't
today?
wanna. And he's like, don't wanna what? I'm like, I don't wanna work. He goes, okay, well, what are we gonna do about that? Like one time I was like, I just don't
I'm gonna go home.
Can I go home? He goes, you can don't want to for the next 2 minutes because we got a meeting at 1, but and I'm like, fine. Funny. He'll humor me because I'm telling you, I was 10 times worse when we used to work together forever ago, because obviously I had more energy, and he was very much more so in his clinical box at that time. And we worked with the severely mentally ill. Like, I think schizophrenia was our majority of our diagnosis. So you got to be a little creative when you're working with that particular diagnosis. And he was just like, they're not following the rules. I'm like,
Why would they?
I'll wait for you. Okay, deal with this. Let's see. I'm gonna see how you do it. And then he looked at me like, what? And I'm like, let me show you. The Marines are not sitting over there, but if they are, what are they doing? They're supposed to be taking out my garbage. And I'm like, and they seem to be doing a very terrible job of it, because there's like 4 bags of garbage right there and they're starting to get flies. What are we gonna do about that? I don't know. They're not doing really well. I was like, well, you're in charge. And he's just, and she took it out. She took out her garbage. I had to do some convincing, but the Delulu was real strong.
Delulu is always strong.
Delulu real strong. And you got to work with it instead of against it.
Mm-hmm.
And that creative part of our job gives me such good vibes.
So like when it's like dead silent in the office too, you'll just hear Victoria's loud ass just being like, I just don't. And it's so funny. It's so good. I'm like, oh, that's Victoria.
And then sometimes if I'm here really late and no one's around, I'm like, hello? And I'm here actually like, bitch, what are you doing here? And I'm like, what are you doing here?
What are you both doing there?
Notes, man.
Go home.
Notes. Literally
notes. There's so many things.
Go home. We were actually talking about that recently. He's like our social chair guy. I made a joke. I was like, yo, I'm best friends with Jivian. He was just like, huh? And it's like the lady who reminds us that we need to write our notes, and is like, you have to do your notes by this day. And just like, bet. Thanks for the email every Monday. And then other coworkers were like, oh yeah, we're buds. We're best friends, because I get those emails too. It's like, yo, great catching up. Thank you.
Besties.
He was like, so let me ask you, why do you guys like, what's going on with the notes? Like, all this stuff. And we're just like, we literally we explained a whole day to him, went hour to hour, and we're like, let's be real. We're not the type of therapist to write our notes within that 15-minute gap interval, because we need to, like, first of all, we need time to go pee. We need time to actually, like, if we need breakdown to cry, we need to cry. If we want to scream, we need to scream. Like, we need to, like, get out of that mindset and get ready for the following client who is in 15 minutes.
You get breaks in between?
We can't
We don't
relate.
get no breaks.
Yeah, we can't relate.
Wait, do you guys have like a centralized system where they schedule like somebody back to back to back?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, we can't relate.
Filling, so my tooth was whole exposed, and I had to talk to people all day, back to back. Everyone showed up. I'm like, the day that I need at least 4 no-shows, everyone shows up.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So we have it, but at the end of the day, also I send in my schedule. I'm just like, oh, this, and this. Now they just started pushing more centralized scheduling, and so I'll get emails every now and then saying, "Hey, I confirmed with your clients, but by the way, this one client needs to be seen, like, wants to be earlier." And so I put them for like 10:15. I'm just like, "Ma'am, you do realize I finish my first client at 10:15. I am not going to see this next client at 10:15. So I'm going to schedule them for 10:30. Thank you very much."
So funny.
And I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. I need like time to decompress. I need to like filter my mind out of whatever I just heard, and I need a break. And so we were talking about that with him, and he was like, "Okay, well, how can we fix that?" And I was like, "I don't know. How can we, considering that productivity is on our butts about doing work?" And he was like, "Well, why don't you guys put like admin time?" And we're like, that doesn't fix our productivity issue. So he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna try and do something about this." I'm like, "Cool, do that, please."
The little time that we do have to breathe, it really is our paperwork time, and that kind of bites us in the ass when we're just like staring into space, because then we stare into space and then we're like, all right, let's start doing these notes, and then it's like 2 minutes before our client comes in and we're like, shit, and then we get really behind on notes, and that's exactly why we are getting out late, you know. And then if I finish first, I'll pass by her office and then I see her doing her notes and I'm like, go home. Like, what are you doing? Hello? And
What you just
You're
do.
one to talk.
Yeah, that 15-minute slot is me just
yeah, no, same.
like
Literally.
off into the distance, because I'm like, what? I don't know when your 15-minute slot. We get 2 15-minute slots.
Yeah, we do.
I don't know when yours are, but I have 4 people in the morning and then a slot, and I just it's like trauma. Usually, I'll see my most traumatic, like my CPTSD peeps in the morning, and I'm like, all right.
I think mine is 10:30. The other one is definitely 2:30.
9 a.m. 9:05
Wait,
because of me.
hold
No,
on.
just
You
kidding.
guys,
Just kidding. My paperwork time is 12:30 because I do it
Oh.
with my lunch, and then the next one is 2:30. Yeah, there we go. What happened, Sam?
Bruh.
What?
whoa, your clinic is so different than mine. I send in, because of the fact that I'm able to send in my schedule and be like, "Oh, please put my clients at this time." Um, I already talked to my clients. And I'm like, "Okay, this is the time you're coming." So I will have purposely 15 minutes after each client, and then I have an hour lunch.
What do you mean? That leaves time for you not to be productive. For if there's 4 15-minute slots, that's an hour of productivity. Quote unquote. I'm talking from the community mental health boss over there. Just like,
Yeah,
oh,
I don't.
that's unused opportunity.
No.
They're a different species.
Yeah,
For real.
real. For
I've
real.
never not worked in community mental health because it's such a necessary like field, but also that's it. That's all I got. And everyone shows up. You're like, did I pee today? I'm 2 days now.
No, seriously, someone was telling me there because I was like, "What do you do for productivity?" She's like, "I overbook myself." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What happens when they all come?" She's like, "I'm screwed."
Fair. Yeah. You lose a paperwork slot. You're
Yep.
done.
Yep.
That half hour, oops.
Yep.
Mobby.
Let's end it with this,
Oh, well.
Victoria. So,
Ready?
where is your mental health at today on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the bestest? And if it's not there, what are you doing to address that?
Well, today, I would probably say I'm like at a solid like 5, dipping between a 4 and a 5, because I'm feeling a mentee B. I'm feeling a mental breakdown. I love them. My venti mentee Bs, they're the best, right? But I am spending a lot of time with my family today. It's somebody's birthday, and I'm planning this whole party, and this person chose to argue with me and disrespect me last week. And I'm like,
The
I'm
audacity.
doing this for you, bro.
yes. And I'm like, you know what? So I'm not about that, but I was very much looking forward to this. So this gives me the 5. I don't think I will ever be at a 10 in my life, because life,
Yeah,
right?
of
But
course.
right now I am at a solid 5. I feel like I'm feeling another bowl of cereal and probably binge watching some true crime series,
Love it. Love
or watching Split again, because that thing's gonna be off of Netflix soon, and I love that movie.
I need to watch it. I never watched it.
it.
Stop. One of the most underrated James McAvoy. One of the most. Listen, he did such a great job.
I know he did a great job. I've seen like little snippets and clips. I've just
Dude,
never watched it, and I need to.
it's on Netflix.
But I
Also,
never have time. I think we're all just like exhausted because the last work day was yesterday. We literally just woke up and started talking here, and now it's like we vented. We're done. Our brains are going to shut off at any moment because
it's
now it's
nap
literally
time.
like nap time.
Nap time.
Exactly.
All right,
I'm
guys. So
ready for him.
let's go take that nap. Let's end this. Victoria, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. We had such
Of
great laughs
course.
here.
And thank you so much for
Anytime.
coming on, and meeting you again was a pleasure. And hopefully one day when I go visit Ashley again, I get to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Yay, that sounds like so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for doing this, guys. It's very necessary to have these conversations, which I love.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends and family. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, Therapists_Unmasked. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.